Welcome to Culmination, where everything comes together. In the process of becoming our best self, I have with me the, I guess, what do you want to be called? The movie producer, future?
I'm just a kid that makes videos that is learning. I'm not that good yet, so...
Well, he seems pretty good to me, considering that I have this giant light blinding me right now.
Yeah.
So, with that said, our topic is faith today.
Oh, my name's Mark Decile.
Oh, did I not even say your name?
I don't think you said.
Well, yes, I have my good friend Mark Decile with me today, capping my little season of Culmination off with 50 episodes. So, welcome.
Dude.
Thank you. Welcome to episode 50. That said, I have saved probably one of the biggest topics for the end, and that is faith. Just kind of, well, you know what? I'll ask you. What is faith?
Well, it depends on...
How would you define it in your definition?
Okay, well, when most people think of faith, they obviously go towards Christianity or a religious faith. Mm-hmm. But I believe faith in the modern terms is more faith in yourself, and I guess faith is just a far more optimistic version of the word of courage, if that makes sense.
Elaborate.
So, I guess we have to give some more context here on why I believe faith is so important. Okay, so if we go back, just a couple hundred years to when everyone believed in God, right?
Sorry, I'm doing that.
Okay, so like when the world was religious, things are a lot easier, right? Mm-hmm. And I did some just thinking, because I was doing some writing research and just trying to understand like what is the medieval mind, so to say.
Yeah.
And just like what are like the real benefits of the Bible that we just don't believe in anymore, that we're lacking.
Yeah.
And this goes all the way to the fact of, so my roommate in college, he had a very dark day, and he was on the phone in the suicide hotline, and they did not pick up. So I just want you to put yourself in that situation and just imagine that, you're at the edge of a cliff, and then the one people the company you're supposed to call,
right? It's
like
they
don't
kind
even
of their
pick up.
job.
Like that. It's just like no one cares about you, and I was just like, and it just always boggled me. It's like how do you get to a point like that? How do you get a point where you're more afraid to live than to die, right? And how why is that so prevalent nowadays? I don't know, at least since we're younger and everything like that. Mm-hmm. You've even had people on this podcast that had friends or family commit suicide.
Yeah.
And that just boggled me. Like, why do people just want to end their lives? And it just didn't make any sense. Why are they so afraid? Where is all this fear coming from? Like, why can they not fight anymore? Where did their courage go? In a sense, to stand up to, just see the beauty and live a life worth living, Yeah,
yeah.
And that's really where it came down to faith. So, I guess it's like one of my favorite quotes is from a guy named Dan Pena. Most people don't like him, but
I didn't know who he was. But.
Yeah. So he's just like this arrogant business mogul and everything. But he did say something really smart. Is like replace fear with faith. So my girlfriend actually gave this to me. This ring here, and I think to also understand, we really understand what fear is. And quoting from Dune, fear is the mind killer, and fear is the thing that prevents you from taking any action in your life. It's just fear. Anything you're trying to do, anything, like if you're not going to do something, you're afraid for some sort of reason. Okay. Even if you're lazy, you're afraid to be uncomfortable and work. Like literally everything. If you're not doing something that you want to do or that you should do, you're afraid to do it. You're afraid to take the responsibility. You're afraid to be uncomfortable. You're afraid to face whatever problems in front of you. Like it's some sort of fear. And then faith is really the only thing that I think humanity has ever created or come to understand that can conquer fear. If you think about it, right? So,
because faith isn't exactly objective. It's all belief. It's like, I looked up the definition. It said it's a complete trust or confidence in something.
Yeah.
So when you think of it like that, it's like, isn't that weird to think that the truth itself isn't really enough, but believing is? And that's the idea of faith.
No, yeah. And I think like that's, and we just have to put in like just a contextual situation, right? So, and why belief is so important. So, you know, let's see, what's a good example? So let's just say, okay, so I guess like this is just the easiest terms since anyone can do it. Let's say you just see someone, you know, it's on the street, or you know, wearing something cool, or like you just see someone's like, oh, they're kind of cool, I want to talk to them.
Yeah.
You know, if a guy is a cute girl, or a girl, you know, you see a cute guy or whatever. Like, if you just want to approach someone, right? Most people are afraid to do that. They don't have the optimistic view or the faith to see that, you know what, talking to this person is not going to be the end of the world.
What do you think makes up that fear exactly? We know that it's obviously fear, but
well, no, but like there's realistic fears, like whether that person you're talking to doesn't want to talk to you and they just shoot you off, and then you just feel embarrassed. So embarrassment's a big reason. 2, you have no idea how it's going to turn out, so just uncertainty.
Fair enough.
And then 3, it's like, the person's just a bad person, you know, and like you don't want to talk to a criminal or anything like that.
Yeah,
so
right.
you know, it's just like, you know, you're in your own little world, and then breaking out of that little bubble is scary. And
it's like it's a hot girl, and then it's like after you talk to them, they unzip their disguise, and it's like some like 40-year-old like criminal dude or something.
What?
I don't know. It's just like they're wearing they're wearing a disguise.
Oh, okay. You
That's
look
kind of an odd fear, though. I'll let you keep going.
Oh, so that was if you've met people like that, I don't know.
Man, I'm just kind of referencing a SpongeBob episode that I've seen at this point. Go on.
Okay, but
there was like a real life like dude in a gorilla suit, and he just no, he was dressed as one of the characters. And he unzipped and turned into a gorilla. So.
Oh, okay.
It's what was on my mind for
so yeah, if you're a spy, you know, you can find yourself in those situations. Best of luck.
Keep going though. I didn't mean to throw you.
Okay, no, it's fine. But okay, so back to this. Just, you know, faith conquering fear. Because if we think about it, if fear is the one thing that prevents us from, in a sense, moving forward with our lives, which is what we all should do. We should all be growing, because if you're not growing, then you're dying. If you're stagnating, you are dying, technically. It's like that. It's a Chinese proverb, but then Casey Neistat actually made a short film of it. Like, if you're just, you know, at those airports, those like escalators that are just flat, that you just walk across.
Yeah.
Right. So like, if you're walking across it, you can keep up and like move down. Right. Well, actually, imagine the escalator is like inverted. So if you stand still, you're gonna move backwards.
Okay.
But if you're walking forward, you can gain speed.
Yeah. Right.
So like, in a sense, Casey Neistat symbolized it perfectly. Like, that's life. If you don't do anything, if you're afraid and you don't move, then you fall backwards and you fail. Like, but if you fight and have courage to move forward, well, then you succeed.
It's kind of interesting because the metaphor of what's pushing you back is time. As time will always move forward. That's what the thing is. So if you're not moving forward with the current of time, then, well, you're just pushing back. Like, if you're eating potato chips just watching TV every single day, it's like everything sets you back. It's like you're not doing anything productive. You're, like, literally your strength goes away because you're not moving your muscles.
Yeah.
You're not thinking about anything intellectually stimulating, so your brain literally dies. So you're literally dying. You're kind of decomposing if you're not doing anything.
A little bit. Well, also just the fact that life is always changing, and like you said, moving forward. So if you don't keep up with it, you're just going to be forgotten. And it's always like, so...
Nobody wants to be forgotten.
So, you know, it's just, yeah, that's true. And it's like, if you just go back to this, you know, like, how do I not fall back on the escalator? Like, what's the one thing that's going to make me get up and not want to end my life and just keep fighting on with life? And I think the only thing is really faith. And that's what God and religion used to provide, but that doesn't exist anymore.
Why?
Well, because science kept God. Like, that's Nietzsche. That's just all Nietzsche.
Of course, we talked about this, like, just as we do, but I'm just trying to...
Well, yeah, but I think...
simplify some things for all.
I think it's just... I think most people know why God doesn't exist anymore. It's just, it's too ridiculous to believe in anymore.
Right, but it's like, it's interesting to... Even though what I said is probably a stupid question, if you... Like, yeah, obviously, we live in a secular world. It's like, you have to ask these obvious questions, because how did we get here? What was the beginning? Why does God not suffice? Why do we not care about God? Why do we... I don't know how is our society so secular when it used to be like if you played one note on the piano that didn't sound right, you'd be axed because it was considered demonic or something. You know, like why was life like that if it's not now?
Well, I think it's the main thing is like, well, obviously like religion was used to explain a lot of things. Science did that part, but I think also just just modern life, you don't need God. Like what do you like? We go to work, we go to school, like we go home and watch like TV. Like there's no hardship. Like, what are we gonna pray about? Our grades? Like that's not like life or death. You know, you're in your little village, and and then fucking tribe's gonna raid you or some shit. You know, it's like, oh yeah, you really do need to pray there. You need to have some faith.
Like, right, or like the crops are gonna die out, and like that's dead. Also real. We can't just ship things. Get our tomatoes from California.
Yeah, like life was just a lot scarier back then. So like you kind of, you needed something to combat existentialism in a sense, or just so you're not scared of the future. And also like that's what another thing going back to like just suicide in a sense. It's like, or what I realized is like, because I think it's like also like with this analogy of just like moving forward. I realize it's just. Faith is, like you said, like complete trust in something, but since it's like complete trust in the important thing is that the future will be good. In a sense, like that's an optimistic belief, right? And I realized, like if you're suicidal, you don't believe that the future can be any better, right? So then you just end it. So therefore, it means you have no hope in the future. And if you have no hope in the future, then you're not going to be motivated to change your present for a better future, and then it's over. And you can't do anything.
It was interesting, like when you were talking at the beginning there, because with this idea of fear that you said, it's like it prevents us from moving forward essentially. And when you think about suicide, it's like when you're suicidal, it's almost like the whole game of life changes. It's like in my life, in your life, it's like it's all about moving forward. For me, it's like I gotta start college in a week from now, or well, not when this video is posted, but yeah, for all intents and purposes, I'm starting college and I'm looking forward. I'm looking into doing these classes to help me get a job someday. For you, you're trying to get into more like film production and everything, and I mean, this is probably another step in the way. It's like you're using a camera and everything, even though it's different, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just the way our lives are. It's like, are we scared of things? Of course. There's always things, like whether they're worldwide or like as petty as I'm mad at some friend for saying some snarky comment the other night on call. Like, like there's degrees of things holding us back, things that we're scared of. But when you're suicidal, it's like the game has just changed. It's like it's not about moving forward. It's about basically how much time do I have until I'm ready to go, essentially. I'm not like an expert of it, but like when you think of the end in mind, it's like all I will say is that it's just different. It's not exactly like we have that optimistic future, but they do not. They're, as you've said it before, they're scared to be alive. Like for some people like me, it's scary to think of death. It's scary to think that this whole shebang is all going to be gone someday. That's like existential. That's terrifying. So I guess faith helps me. It's like, thinking about things symbolically. Of like some people think of the afterlife. Some people, I think of like trying to live the most fulfilling life. Like those little like symbolic, more meaningful things help with fear, as you said. Faith is the cure for fear. But with people who are suicidal, it's just there's none of that faith. It's almost like they're consumed by this fear to a point where it's scary to be alive.
Well, I think while we...
It's just my thoughts after.
No, yeah, you're right. But I think it's like let's go a little deeper on that. It's just like while we are optimistic and have faith in ourselves to combat the future, I think that I could be wrong. I've not been suicidal. I've just seen it, but is that they kind of look at they look at reality almost as how much more suffering can I bear before I can end it, and should I end it today because life sucks that much? You know, it's just like that's ooh. Or it's almost just like I don't even know what the internal dialogue is like. Do I want to bear this much suffering today? Should I quit?
That's kind of what I was getting at.
It's
at the point of it's like how much longer do I have until this? Like you said it a lot better than I did. Like how much can I actually bear? Because I just suggested like how much time, but no, it's just like sometimes there's just so much. Like there's a reason why this happens. You know, like this doesn't just happen. So yeah, it's just what I had to say.
Yeah.
Did you have more to say on that?
No.
Well, I guess I know we talked about this weeks ago, but when you stumbled upon your friend or roommate, and you saw this scene, like obviously it stood out to you. You're talking about it now. What did you do? How did you react?
Well, at first I was just there for him. I was just trying to we're all here for you. Because I got everyone in our corridor to just get together. I told everyone. I wasn't afraid to just this is life and death almost. And it's like,
yeah,
in a sense, like, fuck all personal feelings or if he cares or not, because he obviously doesn't care about his life that much at that moment. So it's like we have to care for it for him almost.
Mm-hmm.
So I told everyone, our RA, and then even went to, there's like this self-help or depression table at like our student centers. Like it was just kind of like fate almost. It's like they just like, hey, if you have any stress or anything, we're here to help you out.
It was the same day as that?
It was literally the next day.
Oh wow.
And then I just like, here's my roommate's email. Please talk to him.
Yeah.
Email him and he also here's his phone number as well. So then he got into some therapy and then he was far better from that. And now he's got a job, amazing girlfriend, and life's good for him. So like he's happy.
Turning it around.
Yeah, so he turned it around. So, it's like I guess sometimes like we just don't understand suicide, but it's like everything, like you said, everything happens for a reason, and then like he has gone through a lot of shit, so it is understandable, but it's kind of also sad to see people just not see the beauty in life anymore, and I think that's a real tragedy.
Mm-hmm. But like you said, I don't mean to like phrase this out of like positive naivety, but just as in the sense that life doesn't always get better, but it can if you make sure it is, Like, I don't want to just say, like, it's automatically going to get better, as some people are like, it gets better, man. Like, it gets better. No, I feel like that's naive. I mean, sometimes that's just, like, a reaction that people say, because it's like, when someone's suicidal, what the hell do you say to them? Like, in that moment, you weren't expecting that.
No, yeah, no.
Like, you don't have, like, a planned, like, notepad of what to say when this happens. You've never really been exposed to that. Correct me if I'm wrong. But there's things you can do to ensure a better life. Like what you did was you gave these people his contact information, and he had to didn't he have to make like some conscious decision to talk to them and everything?
Well, yeah, no, he was smart enough to understand that, like, oh, I can't figure this out on my own.
Mm-hmm.
So he had the courage to reach out and accept help.
Yes.
I think that's also another thing. Is like a lot of people are afraid to ask or even receive for help nowadays, and I think that's very sad as well. So.
Yeah, but I also feel like a lot of people now are more accepting of it, and also just more aware, like just because. I don't know. I mean, from my own experience at like school and everything, there's like all these assemblies about mental health and everything. It's like that still doesn't make it easier to exactly like say these things. It's like I can still understand the like it could feel intense going to a therapist or something, because I don't know. At least to some people it's like, oh, therapy equals I am unstable or something, and that just like feels wrong. But no, like if you take the proper steps, you can ensure a better life, just based on your actions alone, your good actions, and then I guess it just gets easier from there because you understand yourself more, you listen to yourself, you figure out what's wrong, and then you try to take care of it, and then, he got a girlfriend, he got a job, he worked on things, he just kept going. So it does get better, but you have to ensure it. So that's what I'll say on that. Any thoughts on that?
No, yeah, it's just well, it's just hard because, like, if you want things to get better, then you have to obviously know exactly what you want. And in a sense, it's like you have to have a dream, almost. Like that.
And when you're at that point, it's like, you don't have any of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a void.
No, yeah, like that's why it's a scary place to be in. It's like you need something to focus on and navigate throughout life where it's just complete chaos. Right? You need in a sense, like a lot of people, like it's through meaning and purpose, and it's just it's odd because at least in Western society, it's not really a part of our culture to just sacrifice your entire life to one thing, almost. I guess you can correct me.
It kind of used to be, but I feel like it's...
Well, I guess I'm looking more like...
modern day.
Well, I'm looking more just like Asian culture, especially Japan.
Okay.
Like the samurai way. Like, I was just like watching these videos on YouTube of these guys just like cutting up like tuna and just like making sushi.
Like a hibachi grill type thing?
No, just like raw like sushi, man. Like bluefin tuna. That sounds so good. But like
a bite of China.
No, yeah, but like these guys, all they do, they just like cut tuna all day. Like they're just butchers. They're not even really making the sushi, but they just have so much pride and joy and meaning within their work. They just like, this is what I do with my life. And it's also just like you just see even in anime, like the manga writers, they dedicate their whole lives to writing one manga. Like this guy that wrote Berserk, I don't know if you know what that is, but he
I've probably heard of it.
No, yeah, but like he spent 30 years writing one manga. He didn't have kids or a wife, and that's all he did. Yeah. Like, it's like obviously there's pros and cons to everything, but it's just there is something admirable about the fact that at least it seems like more like, well, at least just in Japan, because China's kind of messed up. But I'm Chinese, so in China they were just very greedy, and they very very face culture, if that makes sense. So it's like, it is very status orientated, very socially orientated.
Japan was kind of like that too, or at least in like high school settings. And stuff.
In high school everywhere around the world, people were always like chasing status. But like,
fair enough.
I guess the way you put it, like, I go to Miami University, right, in Oxford. If you know what that is, where that is, I'm not gonna. You don't need to know where it is. But
do you want to give your exact address?
No. But it's just like we have a lot of international Chinese students, and these guys are driving around like Pikachu Lamborghinis, Ferraris, and McLarens. Like, I know, like, if Japanese international students are not doing that to at least the extravagance of the Chinese. Like, it's just a Chinese thing to just be obsessed over status and your social hierarchy. Because it's all about the family in China, and if you have a shit last name, or if you're exiled from your family, no one, like, you're left for dead on the streets, bro. No one cares about you.
It's kind of sad.
Well, no, because like if your family doesn't like you, why should anyone else? like that's their mentality. So that's how it is. But it was just really interesting just watching, just like, in a sense, like the samurai way just influence throughout all of Japanese culture, and it was just really interesting to see in how that's just really not taught in the West. Because, like, that's the way I see a lot of Japanese find meaning in their lives, is through their work and career. Yeah. But, like, remember, like I said, meaning, right? But in the United States, or at least most in the Western world and China, it's just, like, your career is just whatever makes you the most money. It's not about giving you a higher order meaning and purpose in life. It's just, how do I get rich? How do I get that house or car? It's just shallow reasons.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, another thing that kind of popped in my head was when you were talking about like this butcher who all he does in his life is like his profession basically, and thinking about just like in my head, it's like, well, why wouldn't something like that suffice in the Western world? Like, why not? And one of the things I thought of, at least for our younger generations, is like, remember like the whole, almost like a campaign, but just like all these parents promoted this idea of like you can be whatever you want, you can be special, you can change the world, like all these big things. And it's like, that sounds great, man. Like, in the past, it's like, you look at the 1950s and you have like this standard nuclear family and like, you know, it's very stable, it's very nice, but I don't know, I feel like these newer generations, it's like they want more out of life. But what that entails is, I mean, it's kind of like that Incredibles quote. It's like, when everyone's super, no one is. It's like, when everyone's special, when everyone wants to save the world, it's like, well, I don't know. Like, I feel like that's such a big idea. And another thing is that it's not specific at all. It's like, what does that look like? What does saving the world look like? Do you mean like I don't know, fixing climate change or something? Do you mean like, I don't know, ending poverty among children or just anybody? I don't know. Like, this, you have to specify exactly how you're going to save the world. But oftentimes, a lot of these people, Gen Z and millennials, the newest ones, us, the people who have been raised that you can do whatever you want. Like, this is complete autonomy, right? Like, I don't have to be a doctor. I could be a butcher. I could be a professional skier or whatever. But a lot of us are depressed. A lot of us have no meaning. Why does that make sense when we had all the freedom in the world, all the encouragement in the world? Like, we weren't told that, all right, you're going to, well, okay, it's a generalization. But like, I don't know, you're gonna join the military or whatever. Like, absolute. I mean, I know some people are like pressured into being a doctor, but you know, do you know what I mean? Like,
okay. Well, no, yeah.
There's a lot there.
It's like
we were like, born with
autonomy. No, that's true. It's like, at least in America, like we have this. It's the American dream.
Yeah.
Right. And actually, a great quote is like from Fight Club, is like, advertising raised us to believe that we could be movie stars and rock stars, and we're realizing that we can't, and we're getting very, very angry. Right. And no, because like, you know, that's all just lies. And because I think that this is the thing, is like, I think when people say you can be anything you want, I think there's some truth to that, but they're forgetting the aspect
of like effort and
the sacrifice.
Yeah,
you know, you can be the president, you can be a CEO of a large company, but you're not gonna have a family. You're not gonna have friends. You're gonna be completely ruthless, because a lot of people want that. So you gotta be the most competitive, most aggressive player on the field, or you're just not gonna win. You know, if you can't be nice when you're in combat.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I think like that's what it's like. You know, like, you can be a pro athlete, but you can't do anything else but be an athlete.
Yeah.
Same thing with, you know, any creative field or just anything in life. Really.
Well, but also, if you want to be the best, you have to work and work and work, like, to compete. You have to be ready. You have to know your stuff. You have to basically make this your dream. This is kind of your story, right? Like, this is, here, I'm not going to put the words in your mouth. Tell us about your dream. Tell us about
my dream.
Your dream.
Really?
Your dream.
You're gonna make me do this, right?
Do it.
Okay. Well, I guess my dream is, I just want to write a good story. That's pretty much it right now. I don't care if it gets sold or bought by Hollywood. I guess a screenplay specifically, and just be proud of a story that I can write, and that's all that matters. And it's been like a hard journey. It's just like, you know, at least in high school, I thought I knew what life meant and anything, but then I realized that I was still a dumb little child, and I'm still a dumb little child. So it's just, you know, like, it's like, at least in my junior year of high school, I just canceled all my social relationships and just sat in my room after class and just wrote all day. Woke up at 4 a.m. and just
I would
went to
never be able
writing.
to do that,
So like I was just obsessed, and it's just it was hard. Like it drove me a little bit insane.
But you did it for so long.
Well, yeah, because I was just completely obsessed. Like that's
Mm-hmm. And what I remember, what I remember from like those old days, it was like your dream's more refined now. It's like I want to write a screenplay and stuff. But you wanted to get into Hollywood. You wanted to like be a director and everything. It was all this big stuff. And the thing that really made you stand out, in my eyes at least, was like, you hear this type of story everywhere. Like, this is the same cookie cutter story that you hear from everybody. But you were, like, doing something about it. And I'm not saying that's exactly good or bad, because as you explained, it was a lot of sacrifice. You didn't really get to join these clubs or be more of a well-rounded person just because you were chasing this dream. But you were still working towards it, and you can't deny the fact that you're in a much, at least more refined place now because of that, because you took that time to work on your craft, that utter dedication. You did so much. I mean, I know you because you recruited me we were friends in Chinese class first. But then I worked on a short film with you, and that was huge. There's so many skills involved. It's like management and like screenwriting, and then getting all these people to do this stuff and direct it. Did I already say direct it?
No,
probably.
Yeah, so like we made like
getting the gear and stuff.
Like a horror short film, and we got like a 20-person crew, and we had like 12-hour days, like
12 to 12.
Yeah, so that was the
motto. Yeah,
that was the motto of being on set, and it was miserable.
I was miserable.
So, and it's just like, just being those high intensity situations is just not that I guess normal for most people. To just be in. So it's I think a little mind blowing to your life.
No, it really changed me a lot, because I mean, I'm trying to remember the history here. Like, up until that point, I've always, since freshman year and everything, maybe even 8th grade, it's like I always liked this idea of like bettering myself, whatever that meant. Again, it was still like in the clouds. It wasn't refined at all. It had no definitions or specificity. But I always wanted to improve. I got into psychology just because I figured, hey, therapy could be cool. I do this every single day of my life with everybody. So, I don't know. Like, I started to think about that stuff, but actually working on a set like that, something so different, it exposed me to a lot of productive people. Like, how I said that you, in my eyes, was like somebody really ahead of the game. Like, here I was with my own perceptions of whatever the world looked like to me. And here I'm thrown in with all these productive people who are like my age, maybe older, maybe younger, but like they all have their stuff together. And I remember that like complexity in my mind. It's like, what do I do? Like, I don't know. I felt so behind, and it was very intimidating. It was intimidating seeing all these people way ahead of me, and it's like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, and then, but it was the perfect exposure, I guess. And then after that, I kept going. I looked more into self-discovery, and I ended up doing a lot of stuff. Like, I did a project that was like just kind of like a pamphlet that people filled out to kind of track their priorities. So I made a club at school that was all about like goal setting and such. And this podcast is kind of like the third generation. I've talked about this kind of in pieces in different episodes, but yeah, you did a lot to bring me to where I am now. And all I will say on that there's a reason why you are capping this at 50. So
thank you.
I appreciate it. But anyway, enough sap. You don't want that. You want angst. No, I'm kidding. We're here to talk about faith.
No, you're the angry priest. We got the angry priest.
Yeah, we got the fire and brimstone. So yeah,
I have no idea what we're talking about.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. Well, you were talking about your dream and how it kind of evolved. How does faith kind of fall in line with that idea of a dream? Like, this is the dream. How does faith
Well, I think
evolve?
that's
because it's similar, but it's
no, it's yeah. Well, it's like you can have a dream, but if you don't have faith, you'll never execute it.
That's a good way of putting it.
So then you're just gonna be sitting there, like, oh, I want that, but you know what? These Cheetos and this Netflix shows, this is very enticing here. Well, actually, that's just a different type of thing, but it's just laziness almost.
Yeah.
But I think like I said, I think real inaction is just due to fear, and you rather just like I said before, laziness is just you're afraid of being uncomfortable of working hard.
Right.
So, yeah. So like you, in a sense, you just need faith to execute a dream, and it's just not possible without it.
And that makes sense because back to what I was saying about you and your journey, it's like you were actually executing it. You were actually doing things because you had faith. You were like the most confident person I've ever seen. I was like, what the heck is this? I'm used to everybody being depressed. Like, what? And it's like, this guy's like, why did he go to Hollywood and stuff? It's like, we're all complaining about like random, like, I don't know, like having mental breakdowns.
Yeah, it was true, but also you also do sound a little bit delusional at times. I'm just like this little kid, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be a big movie star.
Yeah.
It's like bro,
but when you're confident,
yeah,
it's like,
I know. But still, it's like it's a very fine line between are you delusional or are you just do you actually have a chance?
But it's past the point of just like raw arrogance or whatever because you're actually doing things. You're like proving your worth basically. Well, that's a weird way of saying it, but like you're showing evidence of like I'm actually doing things. Like I rewrote the third book of the Percy Jackson series and
I got sued by Fox. I didn't really.
Almost got sued by Fox. That's a story for the books.
Yeah, that's a story for the books.
But yeah, that faith component really is apparent because, well, that's one thing. It's like I came up with I've been saying this in like the past few episodes I've been doing. It's like this idea that priority is security. That's kind of what faith is, now that I think about it. It's like, when you prioritize things, you feel secure because you're never going to lose the things that you prioritize. It's like your best friends. It's like moving to college. It's like, if we're all going to different places, does it really... Like, I'm not going to lose you guys if I prioritize you. Or if I prioritize studying business or something. It's like, I'm going to... If I really want to get this one job that's in this sector... I'm going to do it. And with you, it's like failure is not an option. It's not. So I'm going to go all the way. I'm going to put all my chips here. And considering how big of a risk I'm taking, I'm not going to fail. Because that would be dumb. I would lose everything if I failed. So I'm not going to. And when you change the definition of that, it's like, well, damn, he's not going to fail.
Hey, man, you never know. People do fail. No one talks about that. Like,
well,
it's very few
winners.
So...
But when you have faith, you'll bounce back.
Well, that's true. Yeah, you can always pick up another fight.
I'm kind of thinking of it on the long term. I hope I'm not really sounding naive in that sense, but I'm glad that you're kind of keeping me in check at points. Well, yeah, like you could lose it all. Well, but when you have faith, it's like then your faith kind of...
Well, no, I think it's like...
Yeah,
like faith... yeah. So, like, faith is important, so if you commit everything towards one goal or one dream... Yeah, I think you have to understand that if you do fail, you can recover. Like that's what matters.
That's the idea.
It's like
that's the whole idea of faith. It's like it's your safety net. That's what it is. Figured it out. Whoa. Sorry to cut you off if I did that. This guy, let me tell you something. So. Yeah. Was that Is that all you had to say?
Yeah, that's all I had to say on that.
Yeah. Let me kind of look at I took some notes, of course, as I usually do. It's a bit more awkward now because I'm on video and I can't just hide the fact that I have like a little cheat sheet.
Stop talking about what we were talking about.
I gotta insert some meta humor here. So we've stressed that faith is important. Oh yeah, here's a good point that we need to cover. How can we exactly find faith?
Well, that's mankind's greatest question. Well, one of them. That's hard. It's like it's like telling someone suppressed to just be happy. Like,
Stop being sad.
Like, where do you find happiness?
But you can see how this is an important question because it's like, I have faith, you have faith. It's like, well, how does person watching, like, it's like, wow, look at these people who, like, have purpose in their life.
No, yeah,
they believe in things.
Yeah.
It's like, how do I, like, cool, I love listening to these people, but, like, how do I find that for myself? That's the point.
Well, in a sense, faith really never comes first. I'd say faith only comes into the equation when you are chasing something or want something, right? Mm-hmm. Or want something that you don't already know you can get, or something that's outside of your reach, something that's uncomfortable, something that you really have to push yourself to get. So
like a big journey. Like
yeah,
something
a big journey.
You would go on a journey.
Yeah, like a dream. So I think like the best thing is like, because I was editing this Red Bull commercial, right? And it really gave me a really good understanding of like fear and faith. So human beings are like the only animals that are willing to throw themselves off a cliff for fun. I was like just editing this Red Bull ad. I'm just like watching people just do stupid crap all the time. Like we're literally the only people or animals on the planet that we just jump out of airplanes. We just want to, in a sense, it's weird because like we want to put ourselves in danger when everything else on the planet, every bug, insect, deer, rabbit, they just freaking run away.
Yeah, right.
Like they are terrified.
And we're afraid of danger too, but we're trying to seek it sometimes.
Yeah, which is really weird. So it's like, if you're just imagine yourself like you're on the edge of a cliff and there's water down below and you're afraid to make the jump. Well, obviously you just need to have the faith that you're going to be okay, be optimistic that maybe this will be fun, I'll learn something from it. Don't think the pessimistic stuff. It's just, in a sense, you have to blind yourself to the negativity, which, there's always pros and cons to everything, which is the negativity of faith, which is like, people taking religion and God too far.
Yeah.
But, it's just like in that moment, because you got to really think about it, like, what is going to be the one emotion, the one thing that's going to get you to jump off that cliff? You cannot be afraid. You cannot be worrying about or being pessimistic about life. The only thing you can be thinking about is the optimistic value that it can provide to your life, and just in a sense, just have the courage and faith to just take a leap of faith. That's literally where it comes from. That's literally where it comes from, right? Just take a leap of faith. Just in a sense, just trust that life and that you will be okay. Mm-hmm. Like in a sense, like that's what it is. It's kind of like there's no real better way to really have faith other than the fact that you just need to trust. It's kind of just like, do you trust your parents? Do you trust your best friends? Do you, like, you can't.
There's no, like, gray area. It's like, do you or
do you not? Yeah, it's like you can't measure it. It's a yes or no question. And I can't. You really can't. Trust is you can't make it happen. You can't take a trust pill. Like, I don't know. Like it's, it's just one of those human things that you just have to be, in a sense, blindly naive to, to just do, and just have hope that you're gonna be okay no matter what you do. And it's just a very weird concept nowadays to just, everything's gonna be all right.
Right, because we're always secure. Like, we got a nice little soft couch right here. It's like, why should I go jumping off a cliff?
Mm-hmm.
But also, did you stress exactly the why component? It's like, why are you jumping off this cliff?
Okay, well then this goes more to almost the hero's journey, right? So the hero's journey is pretty much all about death and rebirth. Okay, so you have,
Beginning and an end in its cycle.
Well, yeah, but just take a common superhero. Let's say Iron Man, right? Everyone knows Iron Man. He began as a playboy, but if he wants to save the world, he's going to have to kill his playboy self and become a better man to save the world. Mm-hmm. That is, in a sense, what I just said there is just a fancy word for maturation and growth.
Yeah.
Right? When we are children or teenagers, our whole goal is to mature into strong, confident adults so we can fight the demons of just society or life or whatever in general, right? So how do you get through that? Like, that's why it's so important, because in a sense, if you think about it, the people that are most afraid, that are in a sense soft, that don't have a real grit to them, if that makes sense,
mm-hmm.
they're almost just like children. They really haven't seen true evil. So I guess it's like the best, or experience any type of pain. Because I think everyone's so afraid of pain right now, but obviously no one wants useless pain, but people forget that pain does make you stronger. No pain, no gain.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, and that's in a sense why we need to throw ourselves off of cliffs, why we need to put ourselves outside of our comfort zones, is because the only way we can get stronger, the only way we can really mature, is by knowingly and voluntarily throwing ourselves into chaos.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's only within chaos can we find the answers. It's kind of just like, if we're in the Hunger Games, are you going to be the person to raise your hand to save your sibling? Like, would you actually do that?
You'd enter the ring and kill everybody? Like, you could die easily. It's like, that's the whole fear behind it.
No, that's true. But then if you think about it, if you successfully accomplish that task, if you come out alive, you are stronger than literally everyone else. You have grown. Like, you face combat. So it's like, if I go back to this, it's like, children in South America, they're dealing with cartels and drugs all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's a shitty life. Like, it's tough. It's hard. It's really hard for them. But, we're living our comfortable lives here in the States, and we're all soft and tough and, just complaining about, just mediocre, trivial things when they're in a life or death situation. Like, those kids are tougher than nails.
Right, yeah.
And I feel like they're more mature than most, adults in the United States.
Well, because it goes back to the hero's journey. They had many call to actions, which is like, it's the whole reason why the hero's journey takes place. It's the start of the journey. It's like, well, when you have like a shitty life, then, or I don't know, like using Afghanistan and the Taliban as an example, it's like when bombs are going off and, there's like all these strict societal rules and there's like these terrorist groups around, it's like you have to, your call to action is your life before the Taliban, it's no longer, because they're here now. So your call to action is, this is the chaos, this is the hell that you now live in, and it's summoned you here. So what are you going to do? Are you going to let this overcome you? Or are you going to... I mean, obviously it's hard to say. Like, you can't just fight them. They're too large. And you're inexperienced, or you're young, or you don't have enough manpower. Like, it makes sense. It's not exactly that you're going to defeat them, but it's more of the idea of, like, adapting and growing and, like, making the most of your situation. It's probably better with your metaphor of, like, drug cartels and such, because it's like it's more avoidable than like terrorists taking over your state and everything. Yeah, it's pretty.
Well, no, I think,
but yeah, it's the same thing.
I think the best way to understand why faith and courage is so important is because if you think about it, if life is all about moving forward, right, and say if you have any dream, if you want anything in life that isn't easily attainable. And if you can't, like, think about it, if you want something and you can't get it, that means there's a mismatch, and therefore the only way you're going to get what you want is you must change. Right? So how do you change? Well, you only change by jumping off that cliff voluntarily, by facing whatever conflict is in front of you to conquer your dream, to fight for it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like that's where it really comes in. Why it's extremely important to understand. It's like, you know, like if it's just like so many people complain about a lot of things, at least in modern life, like well, you I can't think of anything. I'm so done.
Well, like, I don't know, social media status, or like how they look compared to others, or like the fact that they're like their friends are having the time of their lives and posting a picture.
Okay, well that's difficult because, like, you know, you can't completely change your looks. You can't, you know, like you're just stuck sometimes. Well, I guess the thing is, like, I guess the easiest way to put this, like, if you have a horrible job and you want to make more money, well, then obviously you have to change and become a more valuable asset to in whatever industry you want to become. That's how you make more money. You must change yourself. You must get better.
Yeah.
And that requires the courage and faith to believe that A, I can get better, and B, have the courage that, you know what, I can defeat anything that gets in my way, and I can become what I want. And that's the only true way to really move forward, and that's why it's really important.
Right. It's like my dad went to college to basically go into like medical school and everything, like doctor basically, and you know, it just wasn't working for him, and he ultimately decided he wanted to go into business, and it's hard. You had to completely shift life paths. Like, he went to school to basically go to med school and everything. Like, this was his plan. Everything you worked towards was for that. And it wasn't all for nothing, because it never is. You learn so much about everything that even if I study psychology and I end up like a welder one day, like, I still learn a lot, you know? And there's other things I can do, like, I don't know, I could have a side gig or something. But anyway, he took this risk. He risked everything, like switching to business, but he became a lot happier in that realm. And then ultimately, like, he started working for people, and that wasn't working out, so he wanted to be his own boss. He had that dream, and he had the faith that even though if I risk this, and like by this point he's like married and everything, it's like if we believe in this, that we will come out better by taking this risk, then let's do it. So it's obviously calculated. Like, you're not just gonna, using the cliff metaphor, you're not just gonna run off there. You have to think about it. But when it's calculated and you understand why you're doing this, and you have the faith to do it, then when you do it, you have a lot more, like, because it's calculated, you'll have a lot more, like, power into it. You're more collected. You know what you're doing. Priority is security, kind of going back to that. And ultimately, he made it, and I'm sitting here now. So, yeah, that's kind of his story as an example. But it's the hero's journey. It's like, it was a tough decision to say, I want more, and what I have right now isn't enough. But it would be scary to take that step over the hump to get what I want. But is it worth it, basically? And that's the question. Well, if you have faith, then yeah.
Well, no, I think it's like, because we haven't been talking about the negative side. It's like, well, if you don't have faith, well, nothing's ever going to change. So if you have a shit situation, you have a shit life, if you're, you know, a shit relationship, like, well, it's just gonna stay shit, bro. You know, it's like
it's just gonna stay the same. It's kind of like what I was talking about like a while back ago of like time is that escalator that's just horizontal. It's like as you're staying at that job, it's like time is moving forward, but your happiness is just falling way back until you can't take it anymore. And at that point, well, I'll ask you. This is kind of a tough question, but is there a point of no return if you stay?
Well, what do you, like, if you stay at like a...
If you stay there forever, and you don't take that step, you don't take that risk, you're there for 40 years, did you exactly waste your life?
Well, yeah. Oh, well, I think it comes down to the fact that if you are in, like, boring cubicle job or in a crappy marriage or just, I can't be talking about marriage, or just relationship, and then, and that it's crappy, so you're consciously aware of it, and you choose not to do anything about it, you're a coward. Like, that's just what it is. You're
because you didn't have the balls to take the step.
Yeah, exactly. You weren't willing to challenge or change anything, and you just let life walk over you, and you just sit there. You sit there while the world is burning, and you don't want to stand up and try to extinguish it or do better. Like, you're just a coward at that point. And yeah, because if you think about it, it's like, if you aren't in one of those situations, like I said, like, there is no alternative. If you either move forward or it stays garbage, and it's kind of scary that most people would rather just be in a garbage situation. Like, actually, it's kind of funny. It's like one of the funniest scenes in Fight Club to me is when Brad Pitt, he holds up a gas station. Like, he has guns. Like, he gets the guy. He gets him going on the ground, and he puts a gun right to his head. And he asks the guy, "What do you want to be with your life?" He's like, "Oh, I want to be a veterinarian." Well, why'd you do that? I don't know. Well, if you don't go to freaking veterinarian school, if you're not employed next month, I will kill you. And he's like, okay. And
then why does he care?
No, okay, because the whole, like, theme and premise of Fight Club is that if you... Oh, crap, I wrote it down, but... So more or less, like, the premise of the film is a guy that's working a corporate job, and he hates his life.
Okay.
Right? And the villain, almost, he just forces him to literally get in a boxing match with just random people and just beat. They just literally fight and be primal. They just become animals.
Okay.
Just to feel alive. Like, that's all it's about. Like, the opening sequence is him meeting up with people that have terminal diseases. So, like, these like social groups, it's kind of like, what's it called? So you're like drug therapy, you're sitting in a circle and you're all talking about your problems.
Like counseling, I know the word.
Therapy, counseling,
it's focus group.
Yeah, focus groups. So he's going to all these depressing focus groups. Like, these guys got testicular cancer, these people have, like, lung cancer, and then he realized, like, oh, you know what? I can't complain about my life. I can be happy because I know other people's lives are worse. so like, and then the villains is like, no, to have a life that you want, you must fight for it. You must have the courage to just stand up and just.
So is the villain exactly a villain, or is he?
Well, it's an anti-hero.
Oh, okay.
So, but it's just like a funny scene. Like, he had to have a gun to a dude's head so then he can have the balls to just live the life he wanted. And I think that's shows the insanity of modern life. Like, it's so bizarre. Like, it's like, the dude doesn't even want, it's not even a huge dream. Like, if you go to veterinarian school, you can become a veterinarian. It's like, there's practically, like, zero risk in comparison to be like an athlete or entertainer or something like that. So it's just like you have to have a gun to your head to just get you to freaking do something. It's but like, that's life now, because that guy that's working at that gas station lacked the courage. He lacked the faith that he could be a veterinarian, that he could have a better life, and he just accepted that my life sucks and that my life is miserable, and then that's a very dangerous place to be.
But I guess think about it this way. The fear of doing something at the beginning when you're comfortable. The beginning is when you're comfortable. Like, it's just too... Why would you take that step? Like, it's scary. Okay, so you put it off. And then the next day, it's still scary. So you put it off. And then the next day you put it off. And then you keep putting it off. But then your life gets worse to the point where it's... Like, your life is worse than it would have been if you just took the damn risk. But you don't visualize it like that because it's such a subtle thing. You never notice it. There's no threshold until it's like already horrible. It's like when you start the desk job that you didn't want because you wanted to be a veterinarian. It's like, I'm fine with this. You're compliant because you're comfortable. And doing this would be uncomfortable. Going through this school would be uncomfortable. But over time, the more you hate your job and everything, it's like, it obviously gets worse. The more you wait. The more you don't do anything about this. It's like, it's the monster under the bed. It's bigger now.
Yeah.
But nobody can visualize this. Nobody has the foresight to visualize this. I mean, I guess we do, and others do, but on average, it's like, well, even us, we're not, like, impervious to this. It's just, like, these hard things. It's like, it's easy to say, well, I'm lazy, or I don't want to do this, or I'm afraid, or something. But you just have to rip off that damn Band-Aid, man, before it gets all, like, filled with the bacteria or whatever. You know? Does that make sense? I'm trying so hard.
It was okay, but the Band-Aid thing didn't work because, if you rip off a Band-Aid, well, then more bacteria can come in. So, I don't
okay, then forget the damn Band-Aid.
Okay, so I think to summarize a little bit, it's if you're afraid and if you don't take action, you'll be very angry. And you won't realize why you're so angry because you're afraid to admit that was your fault. Mm-hmm. Like, that's what it comes down to, like, if it's just kind of like, it's just like really, really long-term procrastination. You know? Like, there's no reason.
Why didn't I say that?
Like
this whole damn time. It's like, you don't do your home. It's like, I'm afraid to do my homework because I don't want to do it. It's huge. So then you don't do your homework, and then it's this huge stack. Why didn't I do that? That's so easy.
There you go, man. I gave you the
Thank you. God, I'm going to stop talking and ask you things now.
Okay, what's next?
All right, so... Well, wait, did we ever answer that question of how did we find faith?
Well, no, I said it was like, you have to want something, and you have to be put in a situation almost.
Mm-hmm. So. Whether it takes gunpoint at a gas station.
Yeah.
From a guy who's like, what do you want to be? So...
Well, I think just to summarize, it's just... At least with... It's kind of weird just how I live my life and just how I just compare myself to peers and stuff like that. And it's like the interesting view that I realize just taking like just what faith is onto my life. It's just enabled me to do things. Like, I just do things, I want to make a YouTube video, I'll make a YouTube video. If I want to make a short film, I make a short film.
That's the same way it's almost impulsive, but you think about it, of course.
Yeah, it's like, if I want to do something, I just do it. I try my hardest, I try to play to win, and I just do my best. I just go. Mm-hmm. Literally, just Nike, just do it, And having the optimism and faith to see that I can and to push forward is giving me the strength and courage to do so. And I feel like that's just like, at least, I'm in business school now, and, some people say, oh, yeah, I want to start this company, like, oh, I want to do this, like, I want to sell my t-shirts. It's like, well, like, why don't you do it? It's like, I don't know, I got to build a website, I got to do this. It's like, no, you can literally just start now. And it's like that thing, you see a lot of people just walking around, like, just, they're all talk, but they're no, they're not showing any, they're not walking the walk. So, and I think, like, that's it, just be a little bit more optimistic. That's about it.
You think it's because they don't have faith?
Well, if they're not, like I said, if they're not taking action, they're afraid of something, right? Mm-hmm. And then they don't have the faith that they can overcome whatever that fear is. Mm-hmm. And there can be millions of different reasons.
It's true. So yeah, just overall, don't let fear overtake you, And I guess I'll get meta here for a second. I mean, even though I'm going to, like, edit this, we've been going on for a while, too, so I probably should shorten this, but I'm over here not making any sense, and I'm aware of it. I'm looking like a clown, But also, I'm also realizing, like, this is my first time, like, actually being on camera. And I remember, like, the first time I started this show, it's like, even though I didn't have visual, it was like, it was hard to, like, talk when you were aware of the fact that you were being recorded, you know? And it's the exact same thing now. Like, this is new. Which is weird to me because it's like, well, I'm not sounding as collected as I probably usually am. And this is the final episode. It's like, like in the back of my mind, it's like, oh God, this isn't good. I'm not making sense. I'm probably not making sense because I'm thinking too much about that. I just have to have faith. But, but really the thing is, I remember we were talking about this. We planned this for a while now, weeks now. You're gonna do the 50th episode, and you kind of threw a curveball of like, hey, I've got the equipment. Why don't we do like a video? Why don't we do video? And I'm like, initially I'm like hesitant, of course, mainly just because like all 49 other episodes are just audio, so it's like, why would this one be weird? But then I was like, you know, this is different. I gotta do something special for the 50th. Why don't we try it? So even though this isn't the cleanest thing ever, even though this isn't perfection or whatever, I had faith. I did this. We made this happen. Even though I might have looked like a clown at some points, or maybe not, depending on what I edit out. But I could always cherry pick the moments where I sound smart or whatever. I could do like some faulty lip syncing that doesn't even work either. Yeah, I suppose I could do that. But the point is, I learned from this. This might not have been perfect. I might be sitting here feeling like, oh God, like this isn't what I hoped of. I mean, I think it went really well. I'm proud of this. I learned a lot. I'm glad that, honestly, this is just like the whole reason why I do the show in general. It's like, I like having these conversations. I like talking to you, Mark. I like talking to all of these other people that I have on this show. It's like, that's what this is all about. So, even though I put myself at an uncomfortable position, it's like, I'm not used to being on a camera. Whoa, you're actually seeing what I look like. I should go up there and do like the rapper, like Fish Island. Stop. See, I need somebody to keep me in check sometimes too, but
don't compare yourself to rappers. You're like, you guys are on a complete far spectrum of each other. You literally have these guys. Oh Jesus. Oh, you're a little too white for this. I'm just
all right, but whatever. The point is, we learned a lot over just this whole series. It's just been growth. Just, I don't know. I feel like I've learned a lot from everybody. Everybody else has learned a lot. I know you can't speak for like all 48 other guests or whatever, but this is good. Sometimes you got to put yourself out there. Sometimes you got to do what you're uncomfortable with. Sometimes somebody will suggest something all of a sudden, like, oh, let's do video, and then it completely changes the course of how you do things. But ultimately, even if this isn't the biggest, like, most shiny project I've ever done before, it was good.
Yeah, I think the thing to add is, like, you know, I think it's like everyone's so afraid to do things or to just take action sometimes, literally just to do it. And well, whatever, like a great way to think about it is like, you know, we literally are on this little dot in the universe. Nothing we do matters. Like, okay, let's just be honest here. We live in a modern society. Unless you're like a general or a doctor or literally your career is involved in life or death situations, whatever you do does not matter. Like it's trivial, bro. Like it does.
Way to end the episode.
You know, like it's like if you're being nihilistic or you don't want to have faith in anything, like, oh, life's meaningless. Well, yeah, well, okay, I'm gonna talk to you right now. Okay, I'm gonna talk to you right now, right? You know, like nothing you do matters in the billions of years that humanity is going to exist. So, like, it's like, so in a sense, think about it that way, your fears are trivial and meaningless because like, if you put it in the broader perspective of humanity, right? So in a sense, it's just like just do it. Like it's just
Nothing's stopping
it's
you.
like so weird. Yeah. Well, the only thing stopping you is yourself, right?
Oh yeah.
And that's like the main.
Well, I meant nothing
drama.
stopping you in the grand scheme because it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And like,
just live your life. Like you got one life, bro. Come on.
And if you look
Just
like a
live it.
fool doing the fisheye thing, you're welcome. Then, it's like you're gonna watch this video, see some cringy ass dude doing that, and then you're gonna forget about it. You're gonna forget about it. Okay, maybe you might not forget about it if you make a meme out of it. But well, even the meme will die out, so it doesn't matter at all.
Yeah. So it's just like live the life you want. Like that's what I'm trying to say, and I think faith and courage are the ways you do that. Well, it's the only way you do. That's what all stories are about.
Mm-hmm.
The hero has a dream. He wants to defeat the villain. He wants to achieve his goal. He has more faith and courage out of everyone else on the cast or whatever, and then he's the one that wins the day, saves the day, and he grows the most, or she. So, I think that's good.
Yeah, and ultimately, here at Culmination, we're all about becoming our best self. So, I hope we've both kind of given you insight about this, and it's been a nice ride. I'm happy with this. I'm happy to share parts of my stories or my life. I mean, this is kind of documentation if you think about it.
Yeah.
And all in all, just thanks for doing this with me.
No problem. Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
We had a good run. We had a good run. I'm not sure what we're looking at for the future here. I just kind of had first 50 episodes, but I think I'll still keep going in some capacity, whether or not there will be a season 2, but we'll figure it out. But I have faith that I'll find my way, and I know everybody else here will too. This series has accomplished a lot, just a lot. The stories told and just background things too. Like one of my friends made the new intro songs, and one of my friends composed the song, and then all these other people produced played music for it, and it's just I'm glad that we could all share this. I'm glad that everyone came together to talk about the things that really matter, because that's the culmination. That's meaning. That's purpose. That's faith. And with that said, thanks everybody for watching. I can now say watching this time, because you're actually watching. But thanks so much. I appreciated it. And I'll see you guys next time.
Like and subscribe.
So Rohan was on the show kicking it off with episode 1 on the locus of control. So I brought him here with me to just ask him a simple question as we're reflecting on the series so far. Rohan, what did you learn from being on the show?
Well, I learned that other people have different opinions than I do, and then their experiences in life can shape how they view a certain topic. Like with the locus of control, I kind of brought what I had experienced in my life towards bringing examples, but then I know Casey brought out different examples and talked about it and from a different perspective, kind of. Although we did agree most of the time, I think in that case I kind of learned how experiences shape our views on a certain topic.
Yeah. All right, so Yusuf, what did you learn from this show?
I learned that there's a lot to learn.
Elaborate.
Well, I mean, whenever I was bored, I'd maybe watch a little bit of each episode, and I mean, I can't really remember right now. I have a horrible memory, but it's really cool to like actually hear my friends talk about like real topics and like see what they have to say about it, instead of just messing around with them constantly. So I feel like I kind of learned who my friends truly were, how like insightful they could really be,
Oh, wow.
especially you.
Oh, well, thank you. So, AJ, what did you learn from Culmination?
Other than from the episodes themselves, I learned a lot about like my music making skills in like a commercial sort of environment, like out in the real world. What I do, like I won't will not be necessarily always be making music for myself.
Yeah.
Like I want to go into like music production. I want to study it in school, and that's what I want to do for my life.
Yeah. I'm glad that helped you out.
Yeah, of course, and it was great to do it. I love making music.
Yeah, you made some really great works, dude.
Oh, why thank you. Of course, I appreciate it.
So, Gus, what did you learn from Culmination?
I learned that many different people have many different interpretations and sort of ways they think about life, because everybody's sort of topics were different, and it was interesting to hear what people were thinking about and what people have gone through and their experiences and how that kind of shapes their interests.
Yeah. So, Govin, what did you learn from Culmination?
From Culmination and all the episodes and being on the podcast, one specific thing that I learned is, seeing all these people that I've grown up with and seeing how much they've grown and how much they have to offer. And being on the podcast specifically taught me to express my viewpoints on the spot, in the perspective of other people, in a perspective that other people would be able to understand. And it's just been a great experience to do that.
So, Alex, what did you learn from Culmination?
I learned that that people want to listen if you want to talk about your passions, and I also learned how to better talk about them.
Do you want to say anything on like your music or anything?
I've improved a lot with my music, and I also have like a better, clear idea of who I want to reach and how I want to reach them.
So, Jordan, what did you learn from Culmination?
So from Culmination, I think I've learned how to really express what I've learned. If you watched my episode, I know how I've learned how to express how I've talk about what I've learned. That's really it. Just learning how to talk.
Was it kind of hard before?
Yes, very much so. I used to have so much stage fright. I couldn't really even talk on stage. I could never really do it. But I think Culmination is helping me out with that, and also just listening to Culmination has helped me learn how to talk to people better, which is always a life goal of mine.